Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
So today is Palm Sunday, and it's an occasion for us to reflect on Jesus' life, and especially his final week. Traditionally, Palm Sunday commemorates when he entered into Jerusalem, celebrating Passover, and the Gospels record that he rode into the city on a donkey, and crowds were cheering and laying down palm branches and their cloaks even to welcome him, and singing Hosanna, which is really nice that we sang that song. And also, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, because he was recognized by many as the long-awaited Messiah. In biblical times, it's said that it was a regional custom for kings and people of great importance to ride on a donkey, which is supposed to be the symbol of peace. And the laying down of the palm branches honors or recognizes their position of a dignitary. But we know that many people didn't recognize his position, and so I just wanted, us to think about this, that God's original plan was to send a model to us, to be able to remember the life of Jesus. He was to be a model for us we can relate to God as God's children, and also a model of how he related with others. It wasn't like someone on high ordering people around, but he actually served people, washed their feet, loved children. And then we know that our Father and Mother Moon received the mission to continue Jesus' mission. So the title of my sermon today is The Path Forward. So each of us is called as children of God to be our best selves. Not just alone meditating somewhere, but in our relationships, in our interactions with each other, how we treat each other. And moving forward, we really need to connect with the good or the God in other people, recognizing that each of us is a son or daughter of God. And people we haven't met, people we don't know. Someone who is of humble or high status, it doesn't matter. We are all children of God. And in order to build a heavenly kingdom, we need to be able to do that. So the Bible readings this morning, first is, "My house shall be called a house of prayer for all peoples." And from Mother Moon's words, "I sincerely ask you to follow the path of a true mother, true father, true son or daughter, who will bring a unified world where freedom, peace, and happiness overflows. Begin in your family, your church, and your community." Okay, so how do we do this exactly? Not easy, right? Even for those people that we care the most about, it's still very difficult sometimes to love them in the moment. But actually, from Genesis and re-emphasized by Reverend Moon, we have actually 3 life goals. The first of these life goals is mature your character. So what does that really mean? I have to be a person that not just grows up physically, but grows my heart. And we need to see that each of us is kind of like maybe a little rough around the edges, maybe a stone that needs some polishing. And it's actually through our relationships with each other that we perfect or mature our character. And practicing good habits, of course, is important. Figuring out what I can do on a daily basis or a weekly basis. I mean, that's why we come to church. It's to remind us to be able to connect with God, to mature our character, and to relate to each other. So we can cultivate our character until these kind of things, giving, helping, becomes ingrained in our system, in our daily life. So the second thing is to create loving relationships in order to polish our character. In the reading, Mother Moon said, we have to start with our family, church, and community. So I have a favorite reading. I'm going to read it for you this morning. It's by American author Robert Fulghum. And for those of you who don't know, I teach kindergarten. So this is called All I Ever Needed to Know, I Learned in Kindergarten. Most of what I really need to know about how to live and what to do and how to be, I learned in kindergarten. Wisdom was not at the top of the graduate school mountain, but there in the sandbox on the playground. These are the things I've learned. Share everything. Play fair. Don't hit people. Put things back where you found them. Clean up your own messes. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. Wash your hands before you eat. Flush the toilet. Warm cookies and good milk and cold milk are good for you. Live a balanced life. Learn some, think some, draw some, paint some, sing and dance and play and work every day. Take a nap every afternoon. When you go out in the world, watch for traffic, hold hands, and stick together. Be aware of wonder. Remember that little seed in the plastic cup? Somehow the roots always go down and the plant goes up. And no one really knows how or why. But we are like that. And then remember the book about Dick and Jane. And the first word that you learn, the biggest word of all, look. Everything you need to know is there. The golden rule, love, basic sanitation, ecology, politics, and sane living. Think of what a better world it would be if we all, the whole world, had cookies and milk about 3 o'clock every afternoon and then laid down for a nap. Or if we had a basic policy in our nations and other nations that we always put things back where we found them. We clean up our own messes. And it's still true. No matter how old you are, when you go out in the world, it's better to hold hands and stick together. So, to make loving relationships, we have to have a certain maturity of heart. So that's the first life goal. And only then can we really care about other people. And especially even sometimes care about other people more than yourself. I mean, I think anybody who's a parent, you realize that if something happens to your kid, if they're sick or in the hospital, you would rather trade places with them. No? And also, when I leave this world, when you leave this world, really the only thing that we can leave behind is our family and the relationships that I have, the community that I contributed to, those things that we love and people who love us. That's the only thing that's basically like our legacy. So the third thing then is to make a contribution to the world. Find out the thing that you're supposed to be born to do. Even if you're over 50 like me, I'm still figuring out some things that I would like to do or that I'm meant to do. And we have the opportunity to study something, to become an expert, to find something that inspires each of us and to do that thing. And if we don't know what it is, that's okay. Just keep trying lots of things until you figure it out. Something sticks. The worst thing in the world is to stop trying, to just live, to not just to survive, not to live and thrive. So sometimes that takes us putting ourselves in a new situation. In July, my husband and I are being relocated to San Diego because my husband's job is demanding him to relocate. So that's something new. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I haven't figured. He knows what he's going to do. He has a job, but I have to figure it out. So, but it's also an opportunity to grow in that process, to learn more about ourselves, and we always can keep growing no matter what our age. So to work on these 3 life goals, we need a vision. And what is vision? A vision is actually the picture of future success. So it's like imagining or having the vision of where I or we want to go. Without a vision, then it's maybe just a dream. Without a vision and putting the plan into action. So I'd like to tell you a story. In the 1300s, at Cambridge University in England, there was a chapel. At this time, in England, there was a lot of challenges, wars, plagues, many bad things happening, and people were suffering. But a chapel was constructed. The vaulted roof supported huge beams. They were fashioned out of old growth oak. It was a beautiful chapel with vaulted ceilings, stained glass windows. Here's a picture of the oak beams. And they held many community events there. It was a place for celebration amongst the difficulties that were going on in England at that time. 700 years later, the chapel fell into disrepair. It just got old. And the beams had deteriorated. The roof was almost ready to collapse. And the building required a lot of renovation, including replacing those huge beams. But where could they find these giant oak trees? There wasn't any available. There weren't orchards or forests around anymore. But the original builders of the chapel had the vision that someday this would need to happen. And they had planted a grove of oak trees right outside the chapel. They had the foresight to plant some acorns, and the vision that when they were no longer around, this could serve whoever was still occupying this church. And over the centuries, the trees had grown to full maturity. So the builder's vision was enabling this chapel to survive. They had to be able to think hundreds of years into the future, not just about me and my life and right now. So this is part of leaving a legacy. Legacy is what I do to make contributions to make the world a better place and to ensure that it will help other people when I'm gone. So on the path forward, I need to think about who will come after me and what I want to leave for this world. This is not to be morbid or anything. It's just to think that my life makes a difference. How I live my life makes a difference. So recently, I was part of a Scout leadership program. I was part of a staff. So it's pretty extensive program. It's over 2 weekends, 3 days, 6 days total. And Scout leaders come there this story is told in the leadership program. And the Scout leaders come there to understand about how to build better teams in their Scout units, how to have better communication, how to build teams, and how to make a plan so that their Scouting unit can survive after they're no longer there. So as an adult, I was always looking for people that could be my tribe. My family didn't really live around me. And, I need somebody who I have common goals with. And I have some that they believe in similar things to what I believe in. So the people that I worked with on this Wood Badge staff provided the opportunity for not only for me to help, but also for me to grow. They have it set up where every year whatever leadership staff is there, you can never do the same job twice. So every time you're put into a new position and you have to learn and grow, and maybe that's not even your skill set, like things that you're good at. But there's also a opportunity to give feedback, which is really important, to get feedback and to give feedback. How can we make this better? And I was the leadership program is working to support Scout leaders to keep their whatever they're doing relevant to kids today and to the families, and to have the opportunity actually to help boys In other countries, it's girls. So the U.S. is still working on this. But Boy Scouts is just boys, but all other countries have girls. So we have Girl Scouts too. And many other youth programs that help kids work on these 3 goals. Mature my character, develop good relationships, and figure out what is it that I want to leave or contribute to the world. And my husband and I have been fortunate that the scouting program has been part of our tribe, not just in our church. Our 3 sons went through scouting and they're Eagle Scouts, but not just there. We're able to work with many people in the community who wanted to do similar kinds of things. And scouting is all about being honest, being respectful. The Scout oath says, "On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and country, and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, morally straight." So, those are all the things that I believe in, and that our church believes in. And actually, I found out in preparing for this is only part of the presentation. I had to talk about Robert Baden-Powell, who's the one who started scouting. And actually, I had to do research, and I learned some new things about him that I didn't know for my presentation. He was originally in the military, and he had all these. He wrote this book called, I forgot what it's called, but it's about scouting. But he was writing it for military people, how to do surveying. Actually, he was undercover, and he went in as a scientist, and he was studying butterflies. But he really, in the wings of the butterfly, he was drawing maps of where enemy camps lie and things. So he wrote this book all about how to trap animals and how to build a shelter out. And he wrote it for military people. But when he came back to England, he found out that a bunch of boys had bought this book, and they kind of started doing scouting on their own. And so then from there, the scouting program started, and he developed leadership training programs. And at one point, he said they had what's called an international jamboree, which means boys came from maybe 50 countries to one place, and they had, he saw that the boys from many different countries, even if they didn't speak the same language, they had a similar understanding, and that they worked together. So he thought that his view about world peace was restored. He felt if people can learn to live like this and get along and cooperate and communicate, then world peace is possible. So also for my husband and I, actually, because in the Bay Area where I live, we had some scouting programs, and the girls were saying, "What about us?" Then we started something called Venturing, which is for high school and college, and it's co-ed. And it's been going for 9 years now. And last September, a group of scouts and volunteers, adventurers, went to a weekend at a camp where they did fishing and hiking and sailboat and horseback riding and mountain bikes, a whole bunch of shooting sports, and I didn't go. That wasn't needed. There was enough, of the young adults who took over. So I thought, well, that's great. Maybe it can keep going without me, because I know I'm moving in July and I don't know what's going to happen. So I felt like, then I can say, okay, I contributed to something that other people feel as valuable, and so that's part of my legacy. I believe that each of us have to find that. We have to find a way to connect with people. It's not enough to just invite somebody to an event. I actually have to care about them. I have to understand about their life. They have to understand about my life. We have to grow together. We have to develop real relationships. And then that's natural witnessing. That's the opportunity to just be a friend. And, we can grow together that way. That's what I believe that Jesus modeled and that we are called to do. Another thing that I've been fortunate enough to be a part of in the Bay Area, we started this women's circle, which was every month. The only qualification was that you had to be a woman. That was anybody could come. But we realized that even in our church, we don't really know each other, and people who have similar, like we have little circles of friends. People tend to just talk. Our church is a lot bigger than yours, so people kind of are cliquey sometimes, and we need to go beyond that. So we started this monthly meeting, and we shared together. We talked about the sermon, and we also talked about our hopes and dreams, what we wanted out of our life. And eventually we decided, okay, we're going to have a retreat. So we had actually 2 retreats, and now we're having a third one in 2 weekends. And there's some flyers out there. If any of you are interested, you're welcome to ask me some questions about it. But in this retreat, we decided that we want to go beyond just our own church community. We want to invite friends of faith, other people. So I have a sister who lives in Fremont. She's coming. I invited her to stuff before, but she never came. But this time she's coming. So I believe that God works when it says in the Bible, when 2 or more are gathered, then God is there. So I believe that that's how we can be able to mature our character through our friends and develop deep relationships where we can really be there for each other, and also even maybe figure out a way to contribute to something in my local community. So these 3 life goals are for all people. They're not just for Unification Church members. It's in the Bible. It's way before our time. It's not just for one religion. It's what can make people happy and fulfilled. And it's God's plan for the world. And these 3 goals, we can't just do one of them. It's like a stool with a 3-legged stool. If I only work on one of them, then the other 2 are kind of weak and the stool will fall over. If I am just focusing on maturing myself, but I don't develop relationships with other people, maybe that's hard for me. Maybe, I believe it or not, I used to be really shy. So my dad's a minister, and the worst thing in the world for me was to have to go to another church where I didn't know anybody and, talk to people that I don't know, So, but I have to really develop that aspect of myself. And, if I only focus on caring for other people, but I actually don't take care of myself, then I don't have as much to give. I'm not able to be the kind of person that can sustain things. I have to have the balance of all 3 things. Mother Moon often speaks about how families and communities, centering on the teachings of Reverend and Mrs. Moon, which are inspired by God, stand on the foundation of the biblical history, are the cornerstone for a peaceful world. And more recently, Mother Moon has been calling us to lead a life of gratitude, forgiveness, and unity. So in the Bay Area, we started to say this quote at the end and this is like our benediction. It's Mother Moon's words. Gratitude brings about heavenly fortune. Forgiveness opens the heart of people, and love moves people's hearts. Let us all be grateful for everything. Forgive our enemies. Love our neighbors as our own flesh, and work in oneness for peace. Let us take the lead in achieving world peace through the True Family movement. So true families just mean people who are striving for this ideal. It doesn't mean that, I'm part of a true family, that I'm better than other people. It just means that I am striving to help other people in my community, in my neighborhood, my family, to strive for these ideals. So, in our daily life, we have to think about the kind of seeds that we can plant that will help us to be able to not only sustain us and our relationships, but maybe impact the world in a way that the planting of the acorns led to a forest, an oak tree, outside this chapel. And sometimes it's just simple things like everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten. It's like how I treat other people. Do I say I'm sorry when I'm wrong? Do I offer to help someone, even someone I don't know, who obviously they're struggling at the grocery store, or they dropped packages at the post office. If I help people because it's the right thing to do, then actually I grow my heart, and I have a connection to that person. If we can remember these 3 life goals and make daily decisions that take us on the path forward, it can help us to be able to have a happy and rewarding life. We are like a work... Oh, sorry. I was supposed to advance the slide here. On our path forward. Okay? We are like a work of embroidery. Everybody know what embroidery is? Like little stitches that make a beautiful design on one side. It starts with small stitches that are repeated over and over. Mistakes need to be corrected. Sometimes one has to change the thread or the direction that the thread is going, and always keeping the big picture of the finished product in mind. What is the goal? What do I want the finished product to look like? If I turn the embroidery over on the back side, I may see many crossover things and knots. Not so beautiful. But this is the necessary thing to hold things together. The knots, or to keep it attached, rooted, to make the beautiful pattern on the front, which is the finished side, the beautiful result of the work. It's a combination of each different color of thread, like each different person in our community, that creates the pattern and gives it beauty. But it is the back, the knots, the cross of threads that gives the strength, that shows the process. Those knots and crossing threads show our effort, our humanness, and let us not be afraid of the process to become a true dwelling place with God. Can you join me in prayer? Thank you, Heavenly Parents, for this day and for this opportunity to be here in Sacramento. Thank you on this Palm Sunday that we can remember your gift of your Son Jesus, and also Father and Mother Moon, who have taken up the path to continue Jesus' mission of helping people to develop their relationship with you, their relationship with each other, and to be able to figure out what it is that they were born to do, the way they can contribute to this world. We ask your blessing on this service and the fellowship afterwards, and we offer this prayer as your sons and daughters and blessed Central families. Amen and Aju.